You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's episode 301. We're on the other side of 300. My name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Just like the way you said that reminded me of the new season of Survivor. Jeff Probst said, "Drop the 4, keep the 1. Let's drop the 300 and keep the 1. And we're starting fresh." So it's a new Ka-Pow.
So that was a fun time, reminiscing, looking back. We hope you enjoyed that supersized 2.5-hour episode of all our past hilarity. Although listening back to it, I couldn't help but think, like, is this working like I think it is? Like, are people getting...
I don't know.
Because it's like, it was a whole bunch of nonsense and silliness and us laughing and being goofy. It's like, that's not... those are just, like, moments. In an hour-long show, there's maybe 2 minutes like that. It's like, I don't know if we really captured our essence, or if that's... So if you I'm thinking, if you just listen to the clip shows, like, these guys make no sense and never are in control of what they're talking about.
Right, yeah, it is.
Anyway, I overthought something.
We're just having a good time.
Figure.
We're just letting people know we're having a good time.
That's it.
Yeah. But we also sometimes share information and opinions and, like, full sentences and don't guffaw over each other. So that happens more often.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't like the I don't want to give off the vibe where the morning commute zoo crew.
Yeah, we are far from that.
Although I wouldn't mind a few more sound effects, Cliff. You want to put in some horns and...
Oh, he's gonna drop some right here. That's a little callback to episode 3.
Yeah, let's not start that stuff again.
All right, so that 300 was like a labor of love. That took a little more time than normal. So we've been neglecting some of our regular topics of conversation. So there's been a lot of TV lately. It's the fall TV pilot season. So let's talk some television.
What in the good Lord is going on?
Nothing. Them just some fellas I play car pranks with.
The worst thing about prison was the Dementors. Nobody exists on purpose. Nobody belongs anywhere. Everybody's gonna die.
There are no strings on me.
So if you want to make more money and keep the money that you make, better call Saul.
He looks like a panda and a Disney princess had a baby.
Somebody royally forked up. Somebody forked up.
Randall! Okay, stay in your room!
First, I thought you and the others were gods. Then I realized you're just men. And I know men.
You guys, look at my dirty girl.
Roll on snare drum. Curtain.
So,
good joke.
There's so much. Where do you even begin?
Actually have
and
not
TV
watched...
TV now is just, for us, is just everything. That is not a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have not watched a new show, like, at least network show. Normally there's at least a sitcom pilot or something in the fall coming out that I want to at least check out. There hasn't been a single thing on network TV new that I've even given a shot. So
Do you mean like the traditional, like NBC, CBS,
Well, yeah,
ABC?
every year Jordan's the one person I know that actually looks and sees what these new sitcoms are and tries them out.
Yeah, I'm usually interested. I want to find the next good funny thing.
I am more of I find myself like watching the things that actually are kept around. Jordan's the person that watches the ones that get canceled.
Yeah.
like he's willing to take the chance of getting invested in something that gets canceled.
Yeah, let's listen back to the last 300 episodes of how many shows I've gone on to talk about that no longer exist.
Right. So, start us off, man.
Oh man, what is going on?
Well, I will then. Forget it. Brooklyn Nine-Nine final season. Did anybody watch that?
Yes.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You didn't do that, Cliff? Well,
No.
I never watched just to go back, I didn't watch the original series until they canceled it and came back.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
why I didn't watch that original, so I never got back into it.
When it was coming back, I was like, "Well, okay, well, there's a fan base for this. I'm going to check it out," and I really liked it. I binged it and really liked it and enjoyed when they came back. And then I think the last season or so was a little worn out, but then they came back with this whatever season. I don't remember what number it is, but
I think it was season 8.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah.
It was maybe just 10 episodes. It was like a shortened finale year sort of thing.
Yeah, and it started off. I was wondering. I think we discussed once, like, what are they going to come back as after all the George Floyd stuff and everything?
Yeah.
As being a wacky police department in New York, what are we gonna do? And they definitely addressed it. Had them kind of face what it is they do, how do they feel about it, and things like that. So it's kind of interesting. Some people didn't like that. I was interested to see where they took it, and not everybody stayed a police officer. So. It was interesting to see where they went, and overall, it ended better than it started. Like, I think as far as this season, I know one point they brought back Doug Judy, Craig Robinson, was a great long-time character that would come back every once in a while, and then the finale was total fan service, and I ate it up. So that was how it needed to go out. What'd you think?
Yeah, definitely a bunch of references and bringing back characters we hadn't seen in a while. And yeah, again, it's not a show I watched every episode of, but if it was on, I was happy to watch it. I always enjoyed it. So I've seen probably half the episodes maybe, but I these last few seasons I kept up a little more religiously. So yeah, it walked that line between kind of being preachy and talking about issues and just being the very silly show that it's always been. So I thought it went out pretty strong. And yeah, definitely sitcoms can flame out on their final episode and botch it. And I don't think this one did. It had a very satisfying ending.
Yeah.
Well, I know the last, I think, like, regular episode we did, we talked about there was a big thing about pants, and because Why the Last Man was coming out. So I've watched several of those episodes. I don't think I'm not fully caught up to the recording date, but as someone who didn't read these books, like, I'm not. I really don't know if I like it or I dislike it at this point.
As someone who works retail, I find their use of it. No, I actually reread the first trade right before it premiered just to kind of remind myself what was going on, and it's its own thing. It's its own story. It's not 100% faithful, which nothing is, but
it had to be updated. It had, that's one of my favorite series. It's a top 10 series of all time for me, and I love Brian K. Vaughan, and I just like I think I had mentioned to you guys that it definitely needed the update because that comic was so from York's perspective. It's such the guy's perspective, and the whole story is it's a woman's world now. And that's the story we're getting in the show. For the most part, this is not what am I going to do in this world full of women. It's what are we going to do with this guy?
Yeah,
you can understand that from a young male writer's perspective.
Absolutely,
that's his viewpoint.
Yeah.
But now we have the showrunner is a woman, and I'm sure most of the staff. So there's a different viewpoint to have with this.
And having
hopefully just as interesting.
Yeah, having such a like you said, updated. Because I just assumed automatically it was, just for all the the transgender references and storylines going on in the series.
Which is a great. But I'm really interested to see where all they go with that, because that's a really interesting thing to fold in there. And the best casting is Diane Lane. I was like, yes, she is exactly that character, but even taking the whole political story there and expanding upon it, using the what is her name? Amber
Tamblyn.
Yeah, using her to play the Meghan McCain type character, and just the whole politics of that is interesting to me. Like, I haven't seen the latest episode, but I've watched half the season so far, and
that's an old trope of, like, in politics. If women were in charge, we wouldn't even have war, or we'd get things settled. And it's like, no, we all have base instincts, and we all are going to butt heads, even if all the men were gone. Like, it wouldn't be a utopia right away.
I think what I don't like about it is that we've already seen The Walking Dead. We've already seen
that's kind
all
of
these every other show was post-apocalyptic for so long, and that's just what it's tired. The story's tired, and it's not prestige TV that I want every show to be.
It's a little bit of bad timing right now. I mean, like, even though there are storylines that are very
everything's post-apocalyptic, including the real one.
Right. So we get enough of this every day. I don't sometimes, and that's kind of why I'm not caught up. I have to be in a certain mood to watch it. So,
and again, the comic was written 20 years ago. The show has been in production for probably 10 years. And to debut it while we're in the middle of a plague,
right,
doing a show about a virus and a lot of people dying, it is a little bit rough. But I felt like it needed to slow down a little bit for a show that's not moving at warp speed. It was like society just collapsed immediately and people are starving. And I know it's not a matter of days. They've been at this for some weeks, but like, you think it would take a little bit of time for society to completely collapse.
Right.
We would hold our own, our own.
You're right. It would be better for that, but they're just trying to get a season 2. It's one of those things that's like, yes, I think that would have been the right choice, but they're just like, we got to get into the excitement.
Let's see people like try to hold on to the patterns they normally had and try to have a normal life, and it slips through their fingers and eventually becomes something else. But it just sort of immediately, they've got gangs of roving bandits and stuff, and it's like, wow, is America really that close? And do I want to know the answer?
Yes. We are that close. These people already have their Punisher shirts. I other than those things, multiple things we listed, I really don't know what it is that I'm missing from it. I don't hate the guy that's playing Yorick. Like, I think he's good enough. And I like 355. I like Diane Lane. Like, I like the pieces. I don't know if I like the execution.
You're coming into it knowing how cool 355 is, and knowing all this stuff. Where I remember Cliff has said he doesn't find the characters very likable.
Right.
So
I just honestly, it could be the direction or something. Like, I don't know whether. Sometimes I think this actor's just not very good, but who knows how many chances they get to film a scene or say a line. So,
but that's my hope. Like, you can start with some unlikable characters, and they start to bond and become better people over time. But again, you got to get to season 2 for that to happen, and so it has to be.
And maybe
good enough for now.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Comparing it to a Walking Dead. If you remember those early seasons of The Walking Dead, that everybody complained because it was too. They said it was too slow. It wasn't.
It wasn't.
But that was the complaint. Where are the zombies? We want to see them fight. That was for like 3 or 4 years. That was the constant feedback on it. And I was, I remember being like, no, this is way better. Develop the characters. Let's get invested into it.
I'm just so surprised how, for as long as I have anticipated and wanted them to make this, how blah I was about the whole unveiling and stuff. I was just like, oh, that's on. I guess I can watch it. I wasn't excited after having seen the trailer. Just like, I'm not as hyped as I was hoping I would be. What else do we got? A million other things out there.
Well, it's Halloween season, and AMC always does their Fear Fest every year, playing a bunch of horror movies all through the month of October. And they just brought back Eli Roth's History of Horror for a third season.
Oh, wow.
Which is the documentary series where there's a theme every episode, and he has a ton of people, actors and writers and authors, talk about certain aspects of horror movies. And AMC has done that with other stuff, but nothing has had 3 seasons worth of content for this stuff. So,
what's your favorite scary movie? I'm Eli Roth, back with some legendary all-stars of terror. I'm not gonna hurt you. Join us as we delve into the films that have left their bloody tracks on the history of horror.
People must like these. So,
please tell me they've gotten to the classic critters and ghoulies and clowns from outer space and all that.
Well, the first episode was called Sequels That Don't Suck, so probably not there. It was talking about horror movies that improve on the original. The second one was Infections, which zombie movies and The Fly, movies about your body betraying you. The third one's called Psychics, so a long history of evil mental powers in horror movies. So again, that's my bread and butter. I love watching experts talk about this stuff and tie themes together and a lot of the stuff I haven't seen, so it's like a crash course in some of these movies I might not know very much about. Like if you had pressed me, I wouldn't even been able to tell you there was a Psycho 2 that came out like in the 80s, 30 some years.
I've never seen it, but
magazines have called that the best horror sequel of all time, because it was like a diving into Norman Bates' psychology and all this stuff, and it had some twists in it that people really love. So
that was definitely the first Psycho movie I saw. I hadn't seen the original, and I saw that one at a pretty early age. I remember that. So
I like that kind of stuff, helping educate me a little bit. But they also have Creepshow they have been airing, which was originally for the Shudder channel, which has all been absorbed into that AMC Plus. So I believe these came out about a year ago, probably. But they've just been airing season 2 on AMC. I think there's a season 3 already out on the app if you're that interested. But it's a horror anthology like the classic Creepshow movies and stuff. Showrunners Greg Nicotero, speaking of The Walking Dead. And there's been that first season I watched was a little rough. There were a couple good ones, but there were some real stinkers in there too. But the second season was a whole lot better. There were way more hits than misses on this one, and a lot of familiar faces. I'll give you a couple of the episodes. There was a little kid with an abusive stepdad played by Kevin Dillon, who was a huge fan of monsters and building models and stuff, and he uses his love of horror movies to get out of that situation. C. Thomas Howell is in an episode with Ali Larder from Lost. They run a bed and breakfast that's supposedly a murder house where all these murders were committed, and it's not doing so well, so they have to up the the cred of this house, we'll say.
So they have does he paint his face or anything?
No. No, he does not. He remains.
He becomes. It's called Soul Man, right?
He's bland, man. He's just bland the whole time. Oh wow, C. Thomas Howell. I got my Wolverine show. Okay.
Oh my God.
There's one with an exterminator played by Josh McDermott from The Walking Dead, who Keith David hires him. He is a rich landowner. He owns a bunch of apartment buildings and stuff. And there's a bunch of homeless people around, and he wants them dealt with. He's like, "You're an exterminator. What's the difference?" That kind of idea. Like, what would it take to get you to get rid of this problem? Molly Ringwald is a high school guidance counselor with some kids who are having some troubles.
Archie's mom?
Yes. but they might be vampiric in nature. So imagine teen vampires and all the problems that might entail. There's one with some astronauts who are trying to make first contact with these aliens. That has Breckin Meyer in it. The season finale was these are all half an hour. Each episode's an hour with 2 stories in it. So each of these are half an hour long. The season finale was an hour long, and it had Justin Long and Darcy Carden from The Good Place, were a married couple, and he invented a virtual reality machine that you could go into movies. And he's like, the people are going to love this, escaping from their boring lives and their terrible wives. And she's like, no, wait a minute. So he gets to go in, and they put him into, had to be a public domain, an old Hammer film with Christopher Lee, The Terror Train. So he's in this old 70s movie, and they put in footage of Justin Long. It was pretty clever. But the best one, it was called Public TV of the Dead. And it was basically like a PBS station. And Ted Raimi goes on there, and he has the Necronomicon from the Evil Dead movies. And he's like, this has been in my family for years. And he goes on like an Antiques Roadshow type show. And he's like, what, is this worth anything? And I was like, oh, this is exquisite binding, and all the pages are wonderful. What's this passage here? And he starts reading the Latin. It's like, you probably shouldn't read that. So unleashes all these evil spirits at a PBS station. And we had just talked about Bob Ross and being a Vietnam veteran. Well, there's a Bob Ross style painter in the studio next door, and he's put Vietnam behind him and just become a peaceful painter. Well, he has to. It's basically like Bob Ross's Ash from the Evil Dead. So it was an excellent half hour and very fun, silly moment.
Interesting.
Well, speaking of keeping with that Halloween theme going here, guys.
Welcome to the home of fear and fright, where not all guests survive the night. The lucky souls will live to tell, and those who don't will rot in.
What's the matter with you? You can't say that. This is a family show.
What are you doing? Welcome, foolish Muppets, to tonight's very special Halloween challenge.
We just have to survive the night in this haunted mansion?
Everything here will seem familiar, but your eyes may deceive you.
Whoa.
I'm mysterious. Madame Pagoda.
Wait,
turn it down. I can't hear myself think.
Take 5, everybody.
Where are you going? No.
Happy Halloween. This place is really haunted. Fiends, omens, and bogeymen, lend me your fear.
It's showtime.
Usually I'm worried about dying up here, but looks like you beat me to it. Don't you have anything better to do than boo me?
Tough room.
Muppets Haunted Mansion has hit Disney Plus, and I watched that today, and it was so much fun. It's excellent old school Muppet humor. It's just they've taken the classic Disney ride and inserted Muppets, and sometimes that can be a great thing. When
is it not a great thing? Just add Muppets.
Well, some of the last couple years or so, they've tried a couple different Muppet series that just kind of fell flat, and I felt like they really went back to kind of the original idea. It stars the Great Gonzo and Pepe the King Prawn. I'm not a huge Pepe guy because he didn't exist when I was a little kid, so
yeah, he's an add-on. So.
Yeah, he's an add-on. But yeah, they've just they've taken every
He's no Rizzo.
He's no Rizzo the Rat. They've taken every classic.
He's like the Rizzo is to Pepe as Pompitos is to Ronald P. Tran.
Figure that one out. But no, they've taken this however long 5-minute classic Disney ride, and they've taken when I say they took every aspect out of this ride, every scene of it, every storyline, they took it all and made something wonderful out of it.
I'm guessing there's plenty of inside jokes that a novice Disney person's not going to pick up on.
I guess not. I think it's all pretty. I think you can enjoy it. It's pretty on the surface.
Either answer he gives, he wins, Jordan. He can just say, like, I think everyone knows this stuff, or he can say, of course, yes.
But no, I really do think I think little kids will love it because it's the Muppets and it's fun. I think adults will like it because there are some old original Muppet Show references and characters, actual Muppets doing stuff in there that they did on the original show that was just little bit here and there, great callbacks without seeming over the top or like, hey, going out of the way to point it out. So it's an hour long, and other than just the unfamiliar new voices of some of the characters, Kermit, we talked about this last time we talked about Muppets. Kermit doesn't really sound like Kermit anymore. He's not. We're two puppeteers removed from Jim Henson, and it's definitely a different take on it. But he's not the star here. He's very much a background character as much as the rest of them are. So tons of celebrity cameos in there. Who's the guy? What's the guy's name from the Lego show, Seth? The host.
I know, but I can't think of it.
I always want to
Lego Batman guy.
I always want to call I always want to call him Will Forte, but that's not right.
Will
Arnett.
Will Arnett. Okay. So Will Arnett.
What did I just watch him in? He was in another show recently, and I was like, he's actually good in this, and I hate him in that Lego Masters. I hate him as a host, but I liked other things he's done.
Yeah, he is the ghost host. That's all I want to give away. He's the ghost host. That's how he introduces himself in the special. But man, I tell you what, they really nailed it. They hit it out of the park with this special. It's like I feel at this point, other than watching your classic Charlie Brown or something like that, like this is the most fun thing out there for this Halloween season. Like it's fresh, it's new, but yet it's familiar, and it's
I
super
haven't
funny.
been. You're right. I haven't been too hyped or the last few Muppets things they've done. I don't even know that I've really given much of a chance with it. I might actually look into this one
and like I said, it's a one shot. It's only an hour, so you don't have to devote a whole bunch of time to it. I hope they learn from this and see this is what they need to be doing more of. They own the property. They have the Muppet Studio name, so let's do more of this. I don't care if they just put out holiday specials. I'd be on board for that. Because this thing, just the perfect mix. You want to talk about your crossroads, taking a Disney ride and inserting the Muppets and making a story out of it. Like it.
For Cliff Barnes, yes.
Yes. I am their audience.
Well, Disney Plus had a couple of animated series dropped recently. Anyone check out the Star Wars Visions first thing?
I have not yet. My son has watched it, so Seth, I was interested. Actually, I was hoping you would bring this up because if you've watched some of these, I've seen some really mixed stuff on it.
何百年も前のことよ。ジェダイいう偉大な戦士がこの星にやってきて、うちの祖先がこの宝刀を託される。その刀は常に全力で支え合う。そいつはお前のもんじゃ。
Is this the anime thing?
Yeah, these are 9 short films from 7 different Japanese animation studios.
I saw 4 of them.
It's pretty perfect. George Lucas was famously inspired by samurai films, among other things. So mixing Jedi in with this kind of samurai feel and anime feel makes perfect sense and works pretty well. I really liked it. I thought, again, and I don't watch the cartoons. I haven't watched any of the Rebels or Clone Wars. Just not, I don't know. I'm just not that interested in this expanded storytelling universe. But this was up my alley because it was standalone. It wasn't, oh, there's 1 minute in the movie that we can fill in a crack with some plot, and like it wasn't going back and retconning stuff. It was just its own thing. It was basically all new characters and random one-shot adventures. And some of them were kind of silly, and some of them, didn't go anywhere. But all of them had something that I enjoyed, some kind of charm. I think the one people seemed to like least was the band one.
That's one of the 4 I watched.
Oh, okay, they formed a band, and the first 10 minutes, I'm like, all right. But by the end, was like, yeah, go, guys. I was into it. So
yeah, I definitely like that better than what people were saying. Like I watched it just because I was like, this isn't even long. I'm gonna check it out and see why everybody's crying about it or whatever. But I thought it was fun. Like you said, by the time it got to the end and didn't really do what I thought it was going to do, I was like, oh, this is just fun. They're just being, I don't know. I was trying to think what I would compare it to. A band doing that, just like winning everyone over.
Are these about, how long are they? Are they about a half hour?
15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Much short. Like,
they're just short.
10 to 20. I think 20 minutes is the longest one, probably.
The other 3 I watched were. I watched the first one, which is like The Duel or something like that. I think that's what it was called. Yeah, The Duel. And it was fine. I barely remember what happened in that.
A lot of them were more style over.
Yeah. I'm not an anime guy, first off. I've told you guys before, my son loves that stuff, but it's just like it doesn't click with me normally. But honestly, this series, I should go back and watch the rest of the episodes because I liked everyone I saw. This series is the biggest argument for anime for me. Like, I actually liked seeing these different styles. I would like walk in his room, he's watching anime, and it's a cartoon of people eating ramen. Just like it's like a ramen cooking show or something that they're doing, and they eat for like hours on end. They're just slurping and go, and I'm just like, no.
It's not fake noodles. It can't be fake noodles.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm not having this. It's not entertaining to me, all the grunts and but this was good. And
you don't like on Speed Racer when he goes, oh.
No. I do like Speed Racer. But
what? Huh.
I get sick of that. The other ones I watched were the David Harbour one. The Elder was the name of it, and it was, a pair, Jedi and Padawan, going off to find some, old guy, and I just loved David Harbour's performance, and it just, I don't know, maybe I just like his voice. I don't know, but the matching of his voice with the character he played was very entertaining to me, and that story was fine and good. Well, my favorite one was the Ninth Jedi, with the girl, and there was like a neat twist on lightsabers in that story, and just it really set up kind of a world that I would be interested in seeing more of. So, what did you think?
Yeah, to me, I said this was the best argument to me against all these lawsuits that are currently happening about, nothing will ever go into the public domain again, especially if it's owned by Disney. Like,
yeah,
Mickey Mouse will never, what is it? I don't know the law behind, but after 75 years or whatever it is, like, Steamboat Willie will be free to do whatever you want with. Like, you can't use Mickey Mouse because that's a corporate logo. But the films he are in will become the public domain, and Disney's been fighting that for years to not let any of their stuff go into public domain. But to me, like, once something hits this sort of level of Star Wars, and it's so expansive and so mythic and so worldwide, like, it should, in 100 years, it should be our King Arthur, Robin Hood, Frankenstein, Dracula. Like, those stories that anyone can do anything with, like that should be Star Wars. And like to have such a hold on it, like I don't know, I'd like to experiment, but we shouldn't do too much. Like I would love to see anything in the Star Wars universe, but young, creative, exciting, fresh voices. And this got me excited of like what could be if, you know, it famously for the longest, I mean, they're doing more stuff like this, experimental, but for the longest time, Lucas wouldn't allow, you know, they did like a Robot Chicken special. It's like, well, you can use the sound effects, but you can't do this and that kind of like, that grip you have on how precious Star Wars is. Like, and Star Wars is a lot of stuff. Star Wars can be anything.
Well, I remember, you know, I don't even know how long it's been, 10, 15 years ago when Family Guy was still popular and they did the Star Wars version.
Blue Harvest.
Yeah, Blue Harvest.
Specials.
That Lucas gave. It was a huge deal because, you know, George supported it and let them pretty much use whatever they wanted out of it. So you're right in the fact that it really is, you know, the mythology of it is just, you know, we say it is known, but but that's kind of where it's at. I mean,
I definitely, I will say it, like you're saying, it made me loosen up where who can, you know, it made me less canon, you know, leaning. I was just like, just do whatever. You know, some of these stories were just like, that's a neat idea. I like that they, you know, made it happen. I was able to watch something and it wasn't stopped by, oh, is that canon or legends or what? It was just like, they're just doing whatever they want.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's what we ran into with Disney, and when they took all, you know, because Lucasfilm had licensed out all those books that nothing was connected. It was just basically, hey, you want to write a Star Wars book? Go right ahead. And to the point where, you know, there were so many conflicting stories out there that they tried to hone it in, which I understood that. And they've went back on it and taken, you know, little by little what they liked and reincorporated some of those characters or storylines or whatever. But yeah, I mean, who's it hurting?
and these proved, you know, Luke. There's no Luke and Han and Leia. Like, these were just in the Star Wars. These were almost 99% new characters, and they were interesting. And like you said, I'd like to learn more about this one. And you know, it Star Wars again. Star Wars is not just the one thing. It's not the Skywalker saga,
right?
But that again, that's the reason I've kind of. It's not because I don't like animation. I've avoided all these Star Wars cartoons because they are so dogmatic of this is set in this time period between this war and that war, and it fills in this story you didn't know about and I don't care about that kind of stuff. As Patton Oswalt famously said, he likes ice cream. He doesn't need to know about the salt and the sugar and the milk and the bowl it's mixed in. Like, just give me the ice cream. That's what I want out of Star Wars. I think Angelina Jolie is pretty. I don't care about John Voight.
I'm gonna argue back though that sometimes all the tying together is the ice cream. You know, like
fair point. For but not, you know, when it depends on your level of engagement. Yeah.
If you're invested, like you're a sprinkle level fan there. We're banana splits here. We got, you know, we're invested.
Yeah.
So. Just give me a lick and let me go on my way.
So what was the other animated?
Other animated was Marvel's What If.
Oh God. Was I too late? Oh jeez. Come on, big guy. Time to go green. Oh no.
Hear me and rejoice.
Come out. What do you mean, no?
You are about to die at the hands of the children of Thanos.
Tony? Oh boy, are you guys screwed. Yeah! man. Wait, what do you guys... that sort of seems like overkill.
Oh, sorry, you gotta say it. I always say "what if," but he says "what if." He says.
I gotta tell you, he crushed it.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright was the perfect watcher. Like, I loved his performance.
When they had announced his casting for this show, I was just like, why would... Because to me, he's a pretty big name currently. You know, he's done those Westworld and been in a bunch of movies and Hunger Games and stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's a pretty big... That seems like a really odd casting for just a streaming cartoon series, you know. But... Man, this thing was great.
It's a big deal.
It was great.
Well, I liked it a lot. I'll get my negative statement out of the way because it kind of ties into the Star Wars thing. Is this was the first thing from Marvel I thought was going to be kind of standalone. That yes, of course, you have to know the continuity. You have to know what these are referencing and what these movies are from. So there's a baseline,
which everybody knows.
You have to be a Marvel fan. But it's like, oh, each one's going to be its own thing that's going to stand. But then it had to, because Marvel can't help themselves, it had to build sort of connected universe. And like you said, Gamora shows up in the last one. Like, wait, did I miss something? Is there a piece of this puzzle? Like, it shouldn't matter. You should be able to say, hey, you like zombies? There's a really great episode. You can watch this zombie one and not have to worry about anything else. And as I said, Marvel can't help themselves, but tie it all into a big messy knot. And again, you might love that. That might be your perfect cup of tea. But to me, it was a little bit like, all right, I just wanted to watch a show. I don't want to do homework and tie everything together. Come on.
I totally agree. That disappointed me as far now. Not only did they do that, but they made it the most convoluted thing. They ended all these episodes like, oh, you know, they all kind of ended odd, so they could do this, and then the resolutions of the endings were just like, oh, come join the freaking team, you know. It's like I don't know. It was my favorite episode's the zombies.
Yeah.
That was the most fun
and funny.
And fun. It was a really great episode, and I liked some of the other ones.
Yeah.
You know, I was not head over heels for any of it except the zombie episode. I really liked that one. I like the animation, but again, I'm so disinterested in this team they've created that will, as far as I'm concerned, it's just going to continue into the next season. They're going to show this Gamora episode that they've saved, her and Stark, you know, doing whatever they were doing, you know, wherever they got spoilers for whatever, but wherever she got this Infinity Stone crushing machine, I'm sure that'll be, you know, in that episode, and they'll just go on, they'll add some new stories, and then those characters will join the team, or, you know.
That, to me, that's the selling point of the what if, you know, in the comics and stuff, is here you have one issue, you're going to do whatever you want, blow anything up, kill anybody you want, like anything could happen. But if you're writing it with an idea of, well, this has to tie into that, it's like, then you're not.
I really wanted standalones, just like the issues, just like do whatever you want and then reset. So now every time we have to be worried about what is going on in this alternate universe comparatively to the other ones. I just want, what if Spider-Man killed the Punisher, or vice versa? You know, what are these standalone stories? I don't know. It was fine.
I kind of felt like I felt like there was enough standalone in each episode. Like there wasn't, you know, much like the movies, it was telling a bigger story in the end. But for the most part, like, just animation as a whole to me is very much, I just want to see what it's about, because it always makes me feel like a kid again. Like, oh, it's just here to be fun, and we get what we get out of it. Them including most of the big actor voices in this gave it a little. I felt like gave it a little bit more seriousness to it. And made
but sometimes
definitely felt more like this is important or this
like
matters
it's official
because the actors.
It would have been a problem if they hadn't done it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't. A lot of them didn't do a great job, but we would have been so focused on the fact that they don't sound right because there's a couple of them that don't, and it sticks out.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they were able to just say, "Hey, this part you signed this. By the way, you missed clause 47 on page 323. You have to do this soon."
Do you know Scarlett Johansson's lawyer? I need to talk to him.
Exactly.
But there were a few of them that were the actors, and they sounded so weird. I didn't realize it till the end. I'm like, wait, that was really Michael Rooker or whoever.
It's so funny that nowadays we expect every animated thing to have these huge stars. I mean, it never used to be like that.
No, because back in the day, animation was so focused on doing it on the cheap. That's like I said.
And you didn't have to concentrate at all on
Yeah.
who the person was. It was just that was a cartoon.
Yeah,
that was,
it's just fun.
It was Aladdin and whatever,
Right.
And then old Shrek came along.
Ugh.
And they were like, "Oh, we're gonna, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna get some big freaking stars and change the all the rules."
Man, you freaking nailed it because you don't know how much I hate Shrek. Like, I freaking despise Shrek, and not because it's the whole thing is just terrible, but it's just for that reason. It's just
don't sugarcoat it.
I don't hate it because it's terrible.
I mean, it is, but
that's beside the point.
It could be total nonsense, but it's not total nonsense. But it just feels like they're always just trying to cash in on Eddie Murphy or some celebrity voice, Mike Myers or whatever, and that's, I don't know, I don't like that. So, but
I'm not a Shrek
luckily,
hater, but
Shrek is not on Disney Plus.
Thank God. You can have that Universal. I don't know. I thought this was fun enough, and even though they were telling, like you said, it had a familiar thing happening. I felt like they did enough with the characters to change them enough, or their environment enough that I was okay with it. I mean, we haven't had a lot of Marvel lately, so this was fine with me.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, but it wasn't like I usually forgot it was Wednesday that it was on, and these other Marvel shows, like, okay, I got at appointment television, I can't wait for the next episode. And this one's like, oh yeah, I got that one to watch. Okay, cool. Like, yeah, it wasn't the most pressing, exciting thing. But I gotta tell you, Ultron with the Infinity Stones, that's a pretty terrifying villain. Like, that's a pretty clever take on all this stuff. Again, if you're gonna do anything you can or anything you want to do, like, that's a pretty good escalation of just like, let's go nuts. Let's give the robot the stones.
Well,
I like Ultron.
Yeah, and because Ultron wasn't my favorite in that movie, like when his movie came out, I was just like, whatever. And I feel like they really improved on it, but in the same sense with the Killmonger character, I was just like, I want more of this guy now. I liked him in the movie, and now seeing him, what they did there, I was just like, yeah, this dude is dangerous. And
that could have been stuff in the movie, in the next movie.
Yeah. So, anyways,
answer your question.
Oh,
I know about 66 upcoming
hey, shut up! Oh, Echo, stop.
There was one more while we're on this kick. There was one more animated series that kind of short series that came out on Disney Plus. You guys probably may not have watched it, but it was called Doug Days.
I am Dog, and this makes me squirrel. I am warning you once again, but I will not warn you after that. Doug!
Get out of my azaleas.
I digged them.
Yeah, it's not digged, it's dug.
Yes?
No, you didn't dig, you dug.
I am dog.
It was starred Ed Asner and his character Mr. Fredricksen from the Up movie, and was just kind of like this really cool little sequel to Up. And what happened to him? He buys a new house, he keeps Doug the dog, and Doug fights squirrels in the backyard and goes on adventures, and it was really cute. Ed Asner, I think it may have been the last thing he did before he died. He's also, by the way, spoilers, he makes a cameo, real short cameo in Muppets Haunted Mansion. But
I thought you were going to say spoilers. He's dead.
No.
Is he a ghost?
He is a ghost.
Whoa.
That's freaky.
But no.
He paint his face.
I just wanted to mention that real quick. If you liked Up like me and you have Disney Plus, go check out Doug Days, because it's pretty wonderful.
So, Cliff, did you finish Ted Lasso season 2?
I'm halfway through the last episode.
Oh my gosh.
I just ran out of time today. So I was literally, I had it playing as I was coming home from work tonight. And I just could not, I didn't have enough time to get through it. So
well,
I'm all the way to the end.
We can talk it without spoilers. There really isn't anything to spoil too much. But you haven't even watched the show, have you, Jordan?
No.
Well, as far as season 2, I'm so on the opposite side coming out of it than I was going into it.
Yeah.
I was so worried about it because I really loved the first season like everybody else, and then the promos for the second season looked so like a caricature of the first season, looked over the top, quippy and all this stuff, and it was not. It was totally not what I expected. In fact, they took an amazing turn of they laid all this groundwork of him as the ultimately positive character and just having this positive effect on everyone around him this first season, and dismantled it in the second season.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was amazing.
It was.
Yeah.
The struggles that character goes through during the season, and the way they portrayed it, and he's not the only character in season 2 that's dealing with with mental health issues and stuff like that, or
right.
life choices, and but yeah,
just the so many ways that they made their point of the what is expected of men, and how men put this on each other, how the world puts it on them to be this masculine thing that has to act a certain way and cannot show emotion,
right.
or and how even everyone in his life expects him to be this guy that he has been, and he's dealing with this other stuff, and just each of them, the Roy Kent stuff, his arc is so good. This episode especially, the showing the things, him dealing with things, and just even in his way, but still
right. Well, I loved that they brought in the team psychiatrist, or psychologist.
Yeah, he was a great character,
and the relationship that starts off so cold. And it's like when they brought her in, I was just like, why? She is not appealing to me at all. Like, as far as there's no story here, she doesn't show any emotion at first, just very blah and boring, and like, here's just a plot device. And the way she develops and her relationships with Ted, and it's just, I loved it. Because
the whole twist of the freaking who the villain ends up being in this season, and the reveal. I assume you have not made it to the reveal of why he did what he did.
No, I am.
I won't spoil that, of course, but
I left off like right at the Diamond Dogs meeting,
which was amazing. I didn't want to spoil that, but the Diamond Dogs meeting was so good.
Yeah,
and the
reaction Roy has to it is just
Oh, it's just so great. But yeah, I think it's not too long after that in the show. There's the confrontation. You get the reveal of why he did what he did, and it's great.
That's
it's a great reveal, and that is not to give the guy an excuse, but it's another way that
I had a feeling that's the way it was going. Like
because he's not an evil character.
Right.
No one in the show is evil.
Exactly.
It's still that tries to have that little bit of lightheartedness to it. Everybody's got some good in him and stuff, and he's not evil. He's reacting to something, and you don't know what. And
that's exactly because I really enjoyed
though
even
honestly what it climax. Is you this entire season we start to dislike that character, and what it is what it feels like it is to us, the audience, from my perspective, is that he got a little bit of hype, and he wants more,
right?
And he is jealous of everybody else living the high life, and that is what you feel like the problem is, and that's not it. And so when you get the reveal, when he explains it, it's like, man, there's almost nothing to say to that. Like I get it, and it's good. I think you should watch this show, Jordan.
You should. The nice thing about it is, even though I know it's leading up to a climax and a confrontation, because we know the characters are so well developed and they're so uplifting of each other, I don't expect there to be like some huge blow up and now we have this dude's evil, and I totally expected this forgiveness or everybody coming together type of thing. And
don't expect the unexpected.
Okay,
I'll tell you that you're gonna get a different ending than that. That's enough of that. But anyway, Ted Lasso,
it's great.
They did it. They were able to do a second season that was just as good as the first, as far as I'm concerned, in a different way. So we'll see where they go with the third season. Anything else?
There's tons of other stuff, but I'll go with the most pressing one that I felt pressure to watch, and I'm glad I did. Squid Game on Netflix.
Okay, well I'm gonna before you go off on Squid Game, I'm gonna tell you that I watched the first episode tonight and do not want to be spoiled.
Okay.
So I was a little like, I don't even know if I want to watch this because I know it's some sort of battle royale thing, and it's kind of tired. But I watched the first episode, and of course, what piqued my interest. I want to watch it now. So
I hadn't heard.
Tread
of this.
lightly.
I hadn't heard of this until somebody at work had mentioned it. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I kind of had to like look up very briefly, like, oh, is this something I want to watch? And now I came home and it was.
It doesn't seem very Cliff, but it's definitely has.
Well, I had
grabbed the world.
I had that thought that it probably isn't up Cliff's alley, but I could definitely see Seth as a Big Brother fan really getting into this.
Yeah, I'm interested.
It is like if Julie Chen put a mask on
and became Julie Chen Moonves.
Julie Chen bot. And like you do these silly Big Brother competitions, and whoever falls off the wall gets shot in the head. That sort of,
It reminds me of The Long Walk.
I saw someone reference that. Yeah.
That's good. I mean, that's always been, my favorite Stephen King story was The Long Walk, which is the game show type format where 100 like 14-year-old boys walk. They just go for a walk, and if you don't If you stop walking a certain mile per hour or you get off the path, they shoot you. It was a game show format. So
yeah, so this is the Korean show. It's the #1 thing on Netflix at the moment, and that plot's going to interest me. That the visuals looked really cool, but I started seeing memes and people in the jumpsuits.
Luckily, the memes aren't spoilery at all. If you haven't seen it.
It's becoming a cultural thing, and you don't want to be left out of anything, especially if you co-host a podcast on pop culture.
Hey, one of the easiest costumes this summer is green athletic suit.
That's gonna be big on Halloween, I'm sure. And again, it's very smart too. COVID safe if you put on those masks with the triangles and squares and stuff. That's a good COVID safe Halloween costume. Anyway. It's a Korean TV show, 9 episodes, all of them around an hour. There's a lot of influence here. It wears its influence on its sleeve. The first one, I thought the DNA of this was The Prisoner, that British show I talked about a while back from the 60s.
Yeah.
About a guy who wakes up on an island and is just given a number, and everything is weirdly artificial and surreal. So that to me felt like right out of the gate. Hunger Games or Battle Royale, like you said, it's people who have to survive, fight to the death kind of thing, with that game show type Big Brother thing. And I saw several references. There's been a couple horror movie, Would You Rather, I think it was called, different things of people doing kind of mundane things with a life or death stake. So that, like, you're perfectly right when you say it's very familiar. But to me, where it takes the best step is, and much like the movie Parasite or a ton of current pop culture, where it's talking about class and income inequality and the 1% and where we all are as a world under capitalism right now, is that this isn't a horror movie where everyone's kidnapped and an evil madman makes you do this stuff. This portrays a world where this is your best option. This is as good a chance as any. To get out of where I am, I might as well do this. Everyone has a equal. They make a very they put forward this is a very fair space. No one is divided among class structure. Everyone has an equal opportunity. At least you have a chance to get out of this. And that's the idea of. That's where I thought it got its strongest. Playing with that idea of, it's not some sadistic horror monster making you do this. It's, what's more sadistic than living life right now in the outside world, buried under tons of debt and stuff. The one negative, I was a little bit thrown because I don't know the stakes, because I don't understand the scale of Korean money. Because he's like, I need $10,000 for some chicken dinner tonight.
Yeah.
It's like
buy yourself a cup of coffee.
Yeah. So like the prize is 45 billion won, which is the denomination.
Seems like a lot.
I was like, I don't know what that is, but it's probably a lot. So apparently somebody did the calculation. It's about $38 million. So
that seems
it's life-changing money, but I didn't quite know the scale.
They could have all split that.
Yeah.
Still all been rich.
But I thought the acting was really strong. Again, subtitles. I liked all the characters. Not everybody's likable, but I thought everything was
I'm team subs, not dubs.
But the big negative is there's an episode with a bunch of English speakers, and it's horrible. It takes you out of it because I don't know who these people are, but they're not native English speakers, and it's very much like, hey, buddy, let's go to the bar and enjoy ourselves. And it feels like they're being dubbed secondhand in English. Right. And it's like...
Want a hamburger?
Yeah. I'm sure that's how everyone feels when they watch an American movie. And, we don't know the difference, but listen to a foreign language. But and it follows up one of the best episodes with all these English-speaking guys. It's like, oh, this is painful to listen to. But I very, very much enjoyed it. And I'm more of a fan of that silly genre stuff, the blood drives of the world and that kind of stuff. I can definitely watch all that junk. But I don't think this is that. It's very violent. It's definitely very genre, but I think it's better, has a better through line and more quality. And for being a very familiar story, I had no idea where it was going. I didn't know who was going to live to the end. I didn't know what the twists would be. I
fell in love with the end of the episode. Of course, the first event, and you're like, you learn so much about what the characters in that event. And honestly, so I'm gonna just to spoil the first minute of the show. It's a flashback to explaining the Squid Game they played as kids, and it's just like a whatever tag type, get the right mark on the playground type thing, capture the flag type thing. And but there were so many things happening in the first bit of the show that just seemed like obviously some foreshadowing to something that would happen later. And I was kind of rolling my eyes, like literally in the first minute of the show when he's going to score, you have to step in this little spot. The guy grabs his shirt and so he can't do it, and his shirt rips and he can do it. And I was like, well, I'm thinking, well, it's how the show's going to end or something. He's gonna that's how he's gonna do it. Same thing is going to foreshadow. Instead, what happened? That paid off at the end of the first episode in a way I was totally not expecting, and it was so different, and I freaking loved it. Like that, the shirt grab in that ending is so good. I was like, I'm in. So I can't wait to watch the rest of that this week.
I binged it over 2 nights, which I never do.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what happened next. I was invested for sure. So maybe not everyone's cup of tea, and very, as I said, there's bloodshed and some gore, but very of its time piece of TV for right now.
I feel like I might add one more thing. Let's see here.
Well, while you're thinking about that, I'll mention real quick. Currently, towards the end of season 3 of HBO Max's Titans, Michael and I have texted a little bit back and forth about it. They did the Red Hood storyline all season. They had brought Jason Todd in season 2 as the latest Robin. And season 3 they do Red Hood. Basically from the comics, the Joker beats him to death. In this, Batman takes revenge. But the kind of catch of this season is it's a whole bunch of Scarecrow, and it's actually Crane is manipulating basically through drugs and addiction Jason Todd, which is the best part of the series. We introduce Barbara Gordon. This is years down the line, so she is Commissioner Gordon, and then brings back the rest of the cast, and we learn some of their fates as newer, younger heroes emerge. Your Beast Boys and Connor Kent, Superboys, and that type of stuff. But it's very up and down as a whole as a season. There's some stuff I really like. There's some stuff I absolutely hated.
But that whole series has been like that for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, the whole series has been this way, and it's very dark. I texted Michael yesterday, and I'm like, I like it enough, but it's just nobody's having any fun. As a Teen Titans series, none of these characters are enjoying any of it. It's just
superheroes aren't meant to be fun. What are you talking about?
It's all doom and gloom, and that part, with the exception of maybe one character, It is. It's just darkness, and Doom Patrol has started its new season, and I haven't watched it yet. So I'm hoping I want to get Titans finished up. I think there's one more episode, and get it finished up so I can jump into some Doom Patrol, because I need some fun and just, off the wall goofy stuff to cleanse the palate a little bit of this Titan show. So I don't know if it's going to go another season. Honestly, with all the CW shows they do there and the fun campy stuff at with Stargirl and stuff, I'm just like, what are you doing, Titans? Like, you have went down the wrong road here, guys. These other shows have laid it out and showed you what works and what, how it should be, and they've totally missed the boat.
And I'm not sure what the standards difference is between what HBO wants from it or what, this was the DC app. That was one of their defining shows.
Right.
And I'm sure they didn't have as high a viewership standard. So if it's, I'm sure HBO is looking at it a little more critically if they want to make more or not.
Yeah, and the bad thing is, when you just look at these characters at this point, they look very, for the most part, very accurate to their comic book origins. You've got the look, you did good on the casting, but just, it's so dark, nobody can see it.
Got a Netflix show that is season 2. Did either of you guys watch the first season of Love on the Spectrum?
Yes, and I loved it, but I have not watched season 2.
Oh, it is just more awesomeness.
I think we talked about this when season 1 came in.
I think we did.
I'm continuing my quest for true love.
I haven't been very lucky in love.
Am I ever going to find the girl of my dreams? I would describe myself as a kind, generous, helpful, polite man.
I have autism. I love cats.
These lovable singles are looking for the one.
I can't see myself without a wife. There's no other way for me.
Love is something that's been on my mind for a very long time. Something I believe in. I'll do whatever it takes to find a girlfriend.
How would you describe yourself?
Weird. And I love being weird. Hi.
Navigating the unpredictable world of dating and relationships.
So I do have a question.
I've never been on a date before.
I'm a bit like Forrest Gump. I'm a chronic oversharer.
Share their hopes.
Feeling excited.
I want to be in love.
What's your age limit?
70.
I can't wait to get rolling. She said yes.
You have a match.
See ya, Mom. A man needs a spouse.
And their fears.
I'm just a bit nervous.
If I muck up, there's only the whole world watching.
From first dates.
This is your first time?
First time.
Me too.
I'm ready. It's going to be really an exciting night.
Look at the moon. Ah!
I am planning to give her a kiss. Not on the lips, on the hand.
And first sparks.
This was really good. I enjoyed myself.
This show is about people on the autism spectrum trying to find love.
Yes.
And it sounds like a dangerous thing to film, and I've heard a couple of people, kind of comment that they felt maybe like they were making fun of these people, and I don't get that at all.
I don't either.
It is honestly, I think it's I have trouble thinking of some Ted Lasso. Does this for a lot of people, but the most positive show you can watch, I cannot watch the show without my face hurting after from smiling the entire time.
Yeah,
it brings me so much joy to watch those 6 episodes. I mean, I just couldn't stop watching. It flew by. I want more. They brought back several characters from the characters,
good.
but people from Michael's back. Bringing back these people from the first season to keep trying, or letting there was successful people in the first season, bringing them back to see the future of their relationship, matching up people from the first season that didn't match, didn't work out with other people. There's new characters that are all good. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
After you watch it, let me know, because there is a couple things I want to talk about, but I wouldn't want to spoil any of it for you. What is so endearing about it is these people, they just want to feel love and get a human connection, and I'm sure it is incredibly difficult for them to do that, and so it is about that, and to watch them where they might feel super awkward talking to someone not on the spectrum, and vice versa, and everybody's so hung up on that, to watch them interact together and accept each other's problems like it's nothing, because they have the same problems, or they have a problem that they can sympathize with them,
right?
And they just clicking so well in their conversations. They just, if someone acts odd, it doesn't faze them a bit. They're like, oh, well, I do this, so if you can put up with that, I can put up with this. I don't care, that's nothing. It's just great.
Yeah, that was the thing with season 1, because I think I ended up watching it, or maybe rewatched it with my wife and daughter, and they loved it too.
It's just for the whole family.
And we had recommended it to some friends.
A little bit like F-Boy Island and that kind of thing. Same feel.
Just fun for the whole family.
Just people coming together and being positive.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it does.
It's great.
It gives a really, it gives an honest portrayal of their lives, what their experiences, without making fun of them. With just trying to. It does a really good job of. My own experience was of feeling like seeing it from their perspective a little bit. Being able to understand a little bit of their world. Without
and just the supportive families they have, and I mean the people that are on the show anyway have very supportive families, and you just love to see that. And Michael, the character I mentioned from the first season, he wears a suit, and he's just like, he is about love. He's got shrines in his bedroom about love, and he'll do anything to summon love into his life. And he's very he's just you just love to watch him. I don't
great.
know. I will go ahead and comment, and you'll see it when you see it. You'll figure it out yourself. There is one relationship that seems not like a good match as far as their level of functionality or whatever. Like, one of them is functioning at a lower level than the other one, and it seems like it's not a good match as far as I'm concerned. But one of them just wants love so much that it's just like they kind of don't see that they're not communicating as well as they should be. But it's one ripple in a hugely positive show. So definitely recommend Love on the Spectrum to anybody.
I'm excited about that. I didn't even realize there was a season 2 out.
Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't know and got to do it all over again. But I'm sure it'll be back.
All right, so much TV to enjoy out there. An endless amount of networks and streamings and channels and all sorts of stuff. So if there's something out there you're enjoying and you feel like we're missing, we can't cover it all. We look and we try, but we can't. So let us know if there's some great show we're behind on or not attuned to. And keep track. We are gonna reconfigure our patron content.
Yes.
So keep an eye out for that. We're gonna have a new setup for all that. We're gonna have some bonus material you can get, some access you can get. So we'll be announcing that very soon if we haven't already. So we thank you for listening. We thank you for your attention in those matters. And we'll be back very soon. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
Seth. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, at gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.